Hello everybody, this is Tip Top Gaming here today with another Magic the Gathering Arena video. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the World's 26th Showcase event. So for those of you who don't know, World Championship 26 is happening tomorrow, or, the 14th, depending on what day you're, watching this. And so to celebrate, MTG Arena is doing a free event where you don't need to build decks, and you get rewards. So this costs literally nothing to enter. You don't have to pay an entry fee. You don't have to build a deck. You can just play this event. Now, what this deck, or what this theme is, we're celebrating the World Championship, and so it's taking the deck list from the top 16 people, or the people in the World Championship, and you get to play with one of those decks. Now, you get to choose which deck you want, and you get the rewards. So, for your first win, you'll get 1,000 XP. For your second win, you'll get 1,000 XP. And for your third win, you'll get the sleeve. Now, I love when they get out something like sleeves as rewards. Why? Because I think sleeves are one of the best cosmetics you can get in MTG Arena. You literally see it all the time. Or at least your opponent does. Or unlike a style for even just a land, you don't see that all the time. But a sleeve you can. And so, I really like it. Yeah, I like, the sleeve looks decent. I don't know if I'll be running it, especially because everyone else will have it, but that's fine. Let's jump into the decks, because there's a lot of them, and so it might take a little bit, but you can really see a theme. There are really, 3 or 4 different types of decks. Now, we have some mono red decks here, so these are pretty generic mono red decks. Now, they do have you running the full art Nyx lands without the style, which is kind of interesting, but it's pretty typical, just some 1-drops leading into some 2-drops. However, this one doesn't seem to focus as much, or well, doesn't focus on it at all because it doesn't have it in the deck. Cavalcade of Calamity, so this is more just red. Good stuff, with Annex being one of the main powerhouses, along with Torbrand. Alrighty, next, let's look at Eli Loveman's deck. This one is a little bit more in the 1-drop category. It has some Infuriates in here. Honestly, the other deck looked a little more consistent. It does run an extra Embercleave here. Out of the two, I think I prefer the first deck, although the Shocks could be kind of nice in this one too. Generally, if you want to just get through the event really fast, I recommend playing one of these 4 mono red decks. Sebastian, he is kind of like a mix between the two. Now he's running some Infuriates, so on and so forth. This is kind of, runs one less Torbrand. This one is, it's okay. Honestly, I think that the first deck I looked at would be my favorite, although these are all built by pros, so I expect them to be all pretty good. I think this is exactly the first deck I looked at, so that's kind of interesting. There might be a change here or there, but I would probably go with the Seth or Andrea. Or sorry if I mispronounce anyone's name in this video. Okay. So I would probably go with one of those two, but if you really want to either cast a bunch of red spells, these ones are a little bit lower on the mana curve. So why don't we jump into the Lone Jund deck. So this is like a Jund Sacrifice-esque deck. Now, if you notice, it runs like Corvold, and honestly, you might want to pick your deck based not what's on most powerful, but what you're probably not going to build, or what you might build. You could do 2 ways. You could either be like, oh, I don't have any of the cards in this deck, I want to play it because I know I won't get to play a deck like this, or you could play a deck and be like, ooh, I like this deck, I want to build it. Now, you could do that, but I think playing with cards you're not going to ever have is a little more fun. I mean, because if you play the same deck over and over again, it can be kind of boring. Now, this deck's mana curve is kind of wonky, but it has just a big sacrifice theme. I don't know if the Thrashing Brontoton is a kind of a weird inclusion in here. It only runs 1 Murderous Rider, but overall, I think it's okay. There's a reason it's probably the solo one. Also, it doesn't seem to run that many. Does it run any Theros cards? Yeah, it runs Antagonizing Remorse, and that's it. So if you want to play with new Theros cards, this isn't the deck for you. But then why don't we jump into the blue-white controls, which is actually what my one of my meta decks is. Now this is very different than a lot of mine are. He only runs 1 Dream Trawler, which honestly is probably the win con for this deck. So I would run more of this, and honestly, I don't like this deck. This one doesn't look that great. I prefer just to win with a Dream Trawler. I don't want some Archons of the Sun's Grace, because they don't even run that many enchantments in here. Honestly, I would not advise. I mean, they run 3 of these, but it's, I don't know. Let me look at the other ones. So That one was this one, right? Let me just make sure. Yeah. Again, this is a very similar list. Actually, I think this is the exact same list. Or maybe scrap a couple things. I would have built this differently, but I guess I'm not a pro, so that's fine. Okay, this is more what I would have built. I would have built it more focused around that Dream Trawler and then bringing it back with Elspeth, with Teferi, some counter spells. Yeah, this is probably what I would build. This is so far is my favorite mono blue deck, the one Thoref Severin. So out of the mono, or not the mono decks, oh my god, the Azorius control decks, Thorelf Severin is the deck I would go with. So I'd be going with, I believe, Andrea and Thoraf. And then, okay, so now we have the Fires of Invention deck. Now this one is very simple. Now they don't have sideboards because these are best of 1 matches, which is kind of strange because these are built for best of 3 matches. But whatever, I know best of 3 matches can be kind of intimidating in terms of they can take a lot more time. And I'm not a big fan of them either, so I'm fine. So this just runs pretty generic good stuff. It doesn't run a lot of the cards I would expect it to. Overall, it just looks really like a short list. Like, I feel like this should have more cards in it, but I feel like it should be running Fae of Wishes and be grabbing things from sideboards, but I don't know. Maybe that's just something that happens more on MTG Arena. This runs some Dream Trawlers. This seems a little bit more accurate. It has some more Cavaliers, has some just bigger stuff, but at this point, there's not that much to take advantage of Fires of Invention. So, again, not my favorite. Maybe they just cut the, maybe they weren't allowed to do that or something. I don't know. Again, this doesn't have much to use Fires of Invention for. I mean, you can then activate the ability on Cavalier Flame, so it obviously has some use there, but And then Javier Dominguez, he's running probably a more typical version with, again, more stuff to cast in the upper tier. He's running Aether Gust, which is kind of weird. Red or green, but I guess that's focusing on like every other, I mean the Simic decks. Maybe that's what he was like, oh, I lose to those, so I'm gonna put in a card that specifically counters them, but whatever. Okay, then the last kind of deck is like I forget what this color combination is, kind of like a Reclamation, a Wilderness Reclamation-esque deck. So this will focus around Wilderness X Reclamation and then using like Expansion Explosion along with just ramping really fast. This generally looks like it's running some pretty good cards in it. I'm just going to go from the beginning. So yeah, this was Autumn Burchett's deck. This one seems to be a little bit more in the front end. Actually, it doesn't have any ones. It plays some Hydroid Crisis. Does this one not run Hydroid Crisis? Oh yeah, it does. These decks are very similar in style. I mean, this I think would probably be my favorite so far. It runs the Mystical Dispute. It has 4 Brazen Borrowers, pretty good. Storm's Wrath. That'd be probably the one I'm running. And then Matthias Leverato. Gadwick the Wise Man, that's kind of an interesting inclusion, and a Niv Mizzet up here. I actually probably would be more partial to this deck because I like instants and sorceries, and Niv Mizzet's kind of a fun card. Alrighty, so that's all of the decks. Now, I didn't have a lot of time to break down each one individually, and this one is different by 1 card for this reason, but generally, I think Andrea's the best mono-red deck. That's just my opinion. Matthias is the best Reclamation deck. Obviously, the Jund deck is the only Jund deck. I think that Thoraf Severin is the best mono blue deck, or not mono blue deck, Azorius deck, and something like Javier Dominguez is probably, in my opinion, the best Fires of Invention deck. Now, which one do I think is going to be the most popular? I honestly think that's going to be a mono red deck. People are going to be like, okay, I don't want to just play against meta decks the entire time, because that's literally all this is. And so they'll be like, oh, I just want to get my 3 wins and be done. So they're going to play with a red deck, because those generally either win or lose really fast. Then I feel like people are going to go for whatever they, like, see as most I think they're going to be like, oh, let's see, which of these decks has the most? So it'll be either Reclamation or Fires of Invention. I'll probably be playing Reclamation because I don't really have a deck that's super similar to that. I have the deck in those colors, but I have a mono red deck, I have an Azorius control deck, I have a Jund Sacrifice deck, and I have a Fires of Invention deck. I really don't have a a Reclamation deck, so that's probably what I'll be running. It seems pretty powerful. I don't know how well it's going to actually do. I'll be doing a gameplay video that will be coming up very soon if you guys want to actually see, you know, the event. And yeah, that's going to do it. Now, it starts here in 22 hours, so it'll start tomorrow. That's pretty much all I have to say. Make sure you jump in and do this. It's free stuff. I recommend it. And yeah, you can also swap your deck between matches. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.